Spies. Saboteurs. Assassins. We've all done terrible things on behalf of the rebellion.
Welcome to the O Brother Podcast with hosts Dan and Mike Smith, brothers from the same mother with different opinions on movies, TV, video games, and more, plus celebrity interviews. Get ready, get set. It's time for the O Brother Podcast. Welcome to the O Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my chap from the same lap, Mike Smith.
What was with that terrible, awful?
I mean, they have gone, Star Wars has gone so far to the European, UK.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Can we talk about that this was like Andor was, part So I Married an Axe Murder? No, is that the one where Mike Myers' dad is like full on Scottish, right? It is, right? It is.
Oh, yeah. So I Married an
Axe Murder.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so welcome back to the O Brother Podcast. We're actually
people are like, what's?
I just gave it away. We're doing the review of Andor premiere, which we got the first 3 episodes, which turned out to be, it was pretty much like watching a movie. The first 3.
Yeah, it was shorter. It seemed shorter than that. I think the credits run like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like She-Hulk, it says 32 minutes. It's literally 20 minutes.
You still watching She-Hulk?
I am, yes.
Okay. If you didn't catch our last episode, you might want to go back and take a gander at the She-Hulk D23.
Did you watch the most recent?
I'm almost through with it.
Okay.
Yeah. And by through with it, we'll get to that on the
I knew you'd like it. I knew
next She-Hulk episode. Yeah. What Mike and I are going to do, we're going to do we'll do another episode on She-Hulk, kind of wrapping up, the second half of the season. And I'm really looking forward to talking about that, starting with episode 6, which is
this was
it was called Just Jen. But anyways, we're not talking about She-Hulk today. We're talking about Andor. And it's September 26, 2022, when you get in this episode of the O Brother Podcast. We're going to dive right in. Now, this premiered September 21st, right? Wednesday, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we got all 3 episodes. And so this takes place 5 years prior to the events in the film Rogue One. Right?
Or 20 years prior, because there's flashbacks, which I didn't like.
Okay, 5 years. Let's go with 5 years.
5 and 20.
Yeah, 5 and 20. So 25 years prior to the events of Rogue One. Now Rogue One for me, which came out in 2016, I believe, and it was also written by Tony Gilroy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who directed Rogue One? I should know that off the top of my head. He didn't direct it, I don't believe.
I don't think so. I thought he did, and I looked at it, and now I forgot it.
Now, you must be pretty familiar with Tony Gilroy.
Somewhat.
I mean, or you were more familiar than you realized, I'll bet, because he wrote the screenplays to the Bourne trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote and directed the 4th installment of the Bourne movies.
Yeah.
And what I didn't remember...
See, I always think of Doug Liman, who directed... But Tony Gilroy wrote,
and he wrote and directed Michael Clayton, which I just didn't remember.
Oh wow, I didn't remember that one.
He was nominated for an Oscar for that screenplay.
Yeah, that was excellent.
It's a great movie. Yeah, George Clooney. That's a good one. So this is Diego Luna, of course, in the role of Cassian Andor.
Mm-hmm.
Who the series is named after. We can get to some of the other characters, I guess, as we talk about it. But do you want to just sort of jump? Do you have any summary comments? Or you
Not really. Just that it's a prequel to Rogue One.
Right.
So if you haven't seen Rogue One, it's okay, but you probably want to see it after this. There's a lot of episodes, isn't there?
There's gonna
For
be,
Andor?
I think, 24 in this
And is it
installment.
straight through?
No, I think we're gonna get 12, and then
Okay.
there'll be a break, and then I believe they're starting production in November again. Don't
For
quote
the
me on that, but I
next
think for the
batch.
next series, yeah.
So is that
Uh,
considered season 2? That's pretty long.
no, I think, yeah, maybe that is. Maybe that is actually, but
That's
again, don't
pretty
quote me on that.
long for
Yeah.
a prequel
Oh, yeah.
on TV.
Now, I read some contradicting statements about 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I'm not sure where it ends
Well,
up there, but I f
it's obviously gotta be finite because they
oh,
know
sure.
the ending.
Correct. They're taking it right up until the events of Rogue One. Now, okay, so thoughts up front for you. And where does Rogue One, by the way, rank in your Star
Well,
Wars filmography? I'm
did
curious.
Rogue One came out before Solo, and
Yeah,
I
Rogue One
thought,
was the first kind of standalone.
was it Disney's first crack at it, or had something else come out? I
No,
think
no, I think that was it because then, well, wait a minute. 2017 was that um, The
I
Force
have it
Awakens?
behind me,
Yeah, The
but
Force
yeah, I
Awakens.
think The Force Awakens came out first, but that was like to me, that was just a recopy of Lucas's original.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, let's take his blueprint, add some characters, and just make that movie again.
Rogue
That's what I
One.
felt like. No, Force
Oh, Force
Awakens.
Awakens. Yeah, sure.
So Rogue One was the first movie I thought Disney can handle Star Wars. Star Wars, they can do it.
Yeah.
Because I liked it. I thought it was well shot, well written, good story, great ending. Um, but that's my opinion going in. And then again, this is the 5 years leading up to
Mhm.
what we've already seen if you've seen Rogue One.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, because we're not going to try to dance around, the content of these first 3 episodes, So if you haven't seen the premiere yet, check out the 3 episodes, then come back and listen to the
And we won't
podcast.
give any major spoilers.
No, no. Um, well, yeah, I might. I'm talking openly about it, which is why I just made that statement. So we might.
All right.
What's with the no? What's with the adverse reaction on the other side of the podcast?
I had no reaction.
Yeah, you were like, well, no, we won't. We won't. Like, I just gave an alert so we can talk
I
about whatever we
didn't.
want to talk about.
I
You
I
did.
I well, it
You
was
did.
unconscious. It wasn't a conscious
It was
decision.
unconscionable. That's true.
It wasn't a
That's
conscious
true.
decision
Okay,
on
so
my
for
part.
me, Rogue One it's like Empire Strikes Back because I don't think anything can sort of just from a nostalgia standpoint overtake that. But Rogue One is second to me of all the Star Wars films that have come
I'd
out.
put Solo above Rogue One.
No way. No way. In fact, you're gonna get blasted for that on
Probably,
in the
probably.
comments. Yeah. Yeah,
But
well, now
I
we
I
did do
think
an
it's
episode.
underrated.
Well, it is. We did an episode devoted to Solo, right?
Mhm.
Why you should love Solo, a Star Wars story, but that's for another day. All right, so talk about Andor. Give me your thoughts.
Well, my first thought is I'm glad they showed 3 episodes and not just 1. I think I
Me
would
too.
have been very disappointed had I just seen the first episode.
Mhm.
And really, it's, when Skarsgård comes into
Yeah, I was one of the most exciting things looking forward to this episode of Oh Brother was that we were going to get back into our pirate mode again, which we
"Arr,
love, right? It's Skarsgård,
Skarsgård,
Stellan
matey.
Skarsgård. Yeah,
Get
great actor.
swab the dick, Skarsgård,
Yeah.
then come back and talk to me."
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway,
Don't make me do Scooby Doo again.
so he came in and instantly, infused energy into what was sorta I didn't they I mentioned at the top, about the 20 years prior, because they show his childhood and where he came from to get to the point wherever he is on Rogue One. Don't ask me the planets or any of that stuff because I don't know it.
Just keep going.
But I didn't really like much of that, although it was interesting to see a character from Rogue One who is kind of like his mother figure discover him, and she basically took him from his home
Yeah.
and brought her into a totally different life.
You're talking about Marva, which is played by Fiona Shaw,
Yeah.
who was in the Harry Potter films. Yeah, in the actor that plays Cassian as a young boy is Antonio Vina, and he's known as Casa at that point in time. Right? They
And he
refer to him as Casa.
has a sister with him. I'm assuming it's a sister, because he's
Right.
got this little girl following him around, and he's holding her hand and guiding her. So I'm assuming that's his sister.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so. And in the first episode, within the first 5 minutes, he's supposedly looking for her in this underground bar, where it's really where the first action takes place.
You're talking current day now. We're
Current day, right?
current
Correct.
day
Correct.
sequence, not when he was a little kid. But yeah, he goes into this bar. It's like
No, he didn't go into a bar when he was a little kid.
well,
Folks, just in case you were confused by that.
it's a galaxy far, far away.
Anything goes.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
But it was basically a brothel that he went to, and
Yeah, right.
this girl comes up and he says, I want this girl from what's the planet?
It's
Keanu or something like that.
no, Canary.
Canary.
Kendor.
Yeah, I want this Canary girl.
Eldor.
Yeah. Nobody would know what that
Yeah,
is. But
Canary.
Canary, and she says, oh, I got another girl that has dark eyes, kind of like a Canarian. And he says, no, I'm looking for my sister. And I don't know if that's true or not,
What?
if he's looking for his sister, or if
Well,
that's
he said
just a
he-
line he's telling the prostitute because he's looking for someone else.
No, the prostitute. Jeez, Louise.
Well, that's what she was.
Well, no, she was more of like the hostess.
But
she
if
provided
he said, well,
access to the prostitutes.
but if he said, I want you, she would have said, okay, it's an extra, 50 quadruplets.
Essentially, just to kind of fast forward this a little bit, he goes into this establishment. He ends up having an altercation or confrontation with these two goons, these sentry guards.
They're government workers.
They're government workers, yeah. And so they start harassing him after he leaves the place. He doesn't get the information he wants. He's told whoever this woman is that he thinks is his sister is no longer there. She's disappeared, whatever. So he's walking down the alley, gets into beef with these two guys, ends up killing one of them, ends up killing both of them, actually.
Yeah, well,
can't leave any
kill
witnesses.
One, right.
Can't leave any
kill
witnesses.
One.
Right. And so that then sets off this chain of events where he now has to get off planet, right? Because the Empire is going to be looking for him.
To begin with, is he an outcast? He doesn't seem to have a job. I mean,
I don't.
Is he like an outlaw? I'm not even sure.
I wouldn't say outlaw. I think he's just, a bit of a wayward soul, what have you. And I mean, he seems to be well known amongst the people on Canary.
But he's kind of a grifter. He owes money to everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of a Han Solo type scenario, where he's a bounty hunter type, like.
Yeah, he scrounges things up. Like,
yeah.
At one point, he gets his hands on this really expensive box.
Yeah, I actually made a note. It's an untraceable NS9 star path is what he is. And, essentially.
People wouldn't have been able to sleep had you not said
Correct.
that.
Well, for the Star Wars fanatics, trust me, they would have been all over me if I didn't say that right. But the thing about this is the device that he's going to use to make a deal with Stellan Skarsgård's
Mhm.
character to get money to get off planet, because this
Right.
device is worth so much money. Because I think what it isn't it something that can help them track the movements of the
Well,
Empire?
I thought it was a device that you could communicate without them tracing the communication.
You know what it
Like if
looked
you
like?
just use a comm device,
Mhm.
the Empire can lock in on it.
It looked like one of the boxes that's in Darth Vader's chest plate. You know, that's kind of what it looked
Yeah, a
like to
little
me.
bigger.
Yeah, yeah. But and so that's really what the 3-episode arc kind of focuses on, is this, the murder of these two
Mhm.
government workers, as you say, and then his attempt to get enough money to get out of town.
Right. And he eventually meets up with Skarsgård.
Yeah, and Skarsgård, I mean, he's such a great actor. Love this
Yeah.
guy. I think when I first at least became aware of him,
Michael Clayton.
no, way back before
I
then.
know. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying he was,
right.
you know,
There's the
Tony
connection.
Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy,
Michael,
sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, it's
Yeah,
funny.
he pulled him up on the old Rolodex, and
Yeah.
but was Good Will Hunting when he was
Oh,
in
yeah.
that movie. He was just so great in that film.
Yeah.
Which is-
what did he play in that?
He was a mathematician, and he comes and he learns of this kid who's Matt Damon's character, this
Oh, right.
custodian
He's a
that's
teacher. He's
working at
actually a
MIT.
teacher.
Right. And
And
exactly.
Matt Damon does the math problem.
Correct. And so
That's
he's
right.
working with him to try to make him a protege type of thing. So anyways, but to me, he really brings this.
Mhm.
I mean, Diego Luna is great. He's
Mhm.
great, but for me, Skarsgård brings this kind of Alec Guinness
Mhm.
weight to the series. He's just such a well-established actor and well-known, and
And we
because
don't-
most of the rest of the cast,
Mhm.
most of them are, at least to me, were fairly unnknown.
Yeah. And I was
except-
going to say is
Yeah.
like Felicity Jones. I don't know. I know,
well, she's somewhere in the timeline right now doing her own thing.
right. But does she come into the series? Is that known or not?
Well, yeah, she must, because they're taking it right up to the events of Rogue One.
Okay. So
they'll
then
definitely be,
we should see her.
I would imagine. Yeah.
And also, I was surprised not to see the bot that was very popular.
that was by
Alan.
is it Alan Tudyk? Right?
Yeah,
a
Turdick or Tudyk.
Tudyk, yeah,
something
great
like that.
episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, by the way, that he was in with the
Yeah.
German Shepherd. Anyways, well, he was supposed to be in it. They were going to introduce him in this season, but he's not. He is going to appear as
Okay.
K2SO, who's the droid you're referring to.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't bring him out right away.
I forget what it was. I had read this, but I forget now. But it sounds like he's going to be introduced in the next installment.
Okay. So
or the
in
second
this, we
season,
do
rather.
have a droid buddy in this
We
installment.
do. Yeah, B2EMO.
Right.
B2EMO.
But he has to, and it's not actually his droid, although you think it is. It's really the droid of the woman who rescued him from wherever he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the character's name, Marva.
Your audio had cut out there.
Yeah, Marva. So, okay. So we've basically, talked
Outlined
about the
it,
premise
yeah.
here. Yeah. And but I really love, I mean, it's so like Rogue One, it's very dramatic, it's very adult. I mean, this was some of the more racy
Mm-hmm.
content I've seen in a Star Wars film, I think maybe ever.
Yeah, the
because there's
brothel.
Well, no, not that, but there's the character Bix, who's a friend of Cassian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's a mechanic, and she sells parts and things. She's the one that connects him with Stellan Skarsgård's character.
Right. She has
And
connections
That's
that he
Adria
can sell to.
Arjona,
And she's a new character, right? She was not in Rogue One.
No, Bix Caleen, Caleen. But anyways, she has this romantic interest, this guy Tim that she works with, and they've struck up a romance.
Mhm.
But there's a scene between them. It's like really sort of racy, and the clothes start coming off. And like for Star Wars, that's very no, it's completely
Yeah, it didn't
unusual.
really stick out to me.
Yeah, so okay.
I don't know why it
Stuck
didn't
out to
stick
me,
out to
yeah.
me.
The score is great with this.
Mhm.
I don't know if you like right from the opening title sequence. It's so well done. The directing's fantastic. I mean, my overall assessment is I thought it was. I'm going to go on record and say, at right now, which is this 3
Mhm.
episode chunk, I'm liking it better than Kenobi. I
Yeah,
think
I'm not
it's
there yet.
Yeah, I think it's.
But I think, like I said, if they had just done 1, they had to do the 3 to get
Mhm.
there was nothing wrong as far as the first 2 episodes, but it seems like when Skarsgård got there, it infused some energy that it needed. You
Mhm.
know, they wind up having to, you know, or they get surrounded in this building and they wind up having to escape.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's when they first meet and they're doing the deal and
right. And they're not sure to trust each other yet.
mhm. And then
You know, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. That
right.
kind of thing.
Right. And by that you mean your blaster is what you're talking about, right? Is that what you mean?
No, not the blaster. I'm
Oh, not the
talking about
blaster.
money in
Okay.
the box.
Got it. Keep it clean, folks.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, that scene by the way is fantastic. A lot of action. It's like really intense.
And they take off on a speeder, which is a great
Yeah.
shot.
The only one of the things I didn't love about it, well, there's a few things, but one is the planet they're on. First of all, it seems overpopulated to me. It's just like there's too many people in the background. It
It's a
just that
lot of
seemed
people.
distracting at times. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that they sort of want to show, or that there's enough people here that if they decide to rise up against the empire, maybe they could equip themselves with enough weaponry that they could put up a fight. I don't know. I'm sure that wasn't any part of it, but
Yeah, like
just a lot of background characters.
ultimately, obviously, they find these dead guys,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
they
talk about the chief inspector character.
the younger guy.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great.
there's a younger guy, and he's real gung ho. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look tired. Were you here all night? Yes, sir. You know, if we don't have a clean unit, we don't have a good unit. One of
Yeah.
those kind of chumps. And he plays it really well. And he's told by his superior, just sweep this under the
Now,
rug.
hold on a second. Let me have you pause right there. So the actor you're talking about is Kyle Solar,
Mhm,
and the character is Cyril Karn, and
mhm.
he plays the chief inspector, I think is his title, or deputy inspector, whatever. And then the guy he reports to that you're talking about
Mhm.
plays a character called Chief Hine,
Right.
and that actor is Rupert Van Sittart. I may not be saying that right, but he was in Game of Thrones. He was in quite a few episodes of Game of Thrones. He was so good. He was one of my favorite things in the whole first episode
Yeah.
because of the way that, and you'll hear this in all kinds of other commentary, I'm sure, about Andor, but the sort of socio-political commentary that's going on throughout
Mhm,
the series, like Gilroy doesn't like make any bones about that. Is
mhm.
pretty obvious. But
He's on his way to a meeting with his
yeah, and
superiors.
he's basically
He
telling him, I need you to sweep this under the rug,
Right. I
you
don't
know?
want this reported. I don't want the
Right.
statistics to say we have 2 dead guys.
Exactly. Not good
Company
for me,
guys.
not good for you.
Right. So
We don't
just
need the empire looking in on us,
right. So I'll be
basically.
back and I'll look forward to that report.
And he's like, I'm going to give a speech about the crime statistics or whatever. And he
Right.
said, the goal of that speech, should you ever have to give it, is brevity.
Right, exactly.
But just a wonderful performance in that exchange between the
Yeah,
two of them. And
and
this kid, Kyle Solar's character, he's clearly just, he's power hungry. He's trying
yeah,
to make a play for himself and a name for
right.
himself in the on the planet, in the galaxy, and
So
and everybody
so
around him knows he's a chump.
right. They don't respect
Yeah,
him.
they're like, can this guy even sign our timesheets? He's an
Right.
idiot.
As
You
soon
know,
as he turns around, they're like, that kind
Right.
of guy.
It's that kind of
And
guy.
instead of sweeping it under the rug, he puts this team together
Mhm.
to go hunt down Diego Luna.
That's right. And
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 there was going to be a confrontation when he gets back.
yeah, and the guy that leads that clan, that band of
The heavier
soldiers.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they reincarnated Chris Farley or something and gave him a Scottish accent. And
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a while, probably till the end of the 3 episodes, to really kind of buy into this guy. He seemed just, it was a weird choice for that role. I felt like
Yeah, because he's really
he
kind
seemed
of an
very
ass
comical.
kicker.
Well,
An
and he
ass
just seemed
kisser.
like he seemed like a cartoon character to me.
Yeah. Yes, sir,
And that
Captain Sir.
it looked like he had a uniform that didn't fit, and his hat was
Right.
kind of like Gomer Pyle's. It's just
Right.
weird. It was
Yeah.
very weird. But yeah, he was very much okay. Here's one big beef I have with it. Now, we were talking about She-Hulk and just what a tragedy I think that whole thing is. But
Mhm.
the attempt at humor, it's just horrible. Well, in this, for the most part, it's very subtle. There are some humorous points, but it's just so masterfully done, except for there's a scene where Kyle Solar's character and then this other guy we're talking about that's leading the army,
Mhm.
they're giving a speech to the troops, right? And and
Right.
and the one guy's like, "We're gonna get out there and we're gonna kick ass and this, that, and the other." And then he turns it over to Kyle Solar, and
Right.
he doesn't know what to say. He's never seen a moment of battle. He has no
Right.
idea. He's not battle
This is the
tested.
guy we're talking about that people snicker behind his back.
Correct. Cyril is the character's
Yeah.
name. So he's given and you can just see the soldiers are like
Yeah.
tuning out. They're like,
Yeah.
"What is he talking?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Let's go get him, boys, and we can do this and pull
Right.
up by our bootstraps." Like, it's horrible, the speech he's giving.
Right.
And then this is what I had a beef about, was at the end of that, the guy's behind him, right? Chris Farley's behind him, and
Mhm.
he starts clapping.
Right.
They literally did a slow clap in Star Wars. I was so disappointed in that. It
What
was
do you mean? Like, yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, kind of making fun of him almost,
Yeah, but it's like making fun of, to me, the show. Like, at that point, you're not even you're taking yourself seriously through 99% of this thing, and then you throw a gag in there like that.
Yeah.
I don't
And
need
and,
that.
and the guy, the heavy guy says, "Great speech, sir. Great speech. Let's give him a round of applause."
Yeah, and
Like,
I
he's
think
trying to play it straight.
I think this is Alex Ferns, who plays Sergeant Linus Mosk, is the
Yeah.
heavy that we're literally the heavy that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we talked about Andria Arjona, who plays Bix, his friend that hooks him up with Skarsgård. Marver, of course, you talked about. The score I mentioned earlier briefly, but the score is it seems very different to me. There's a lot of drums. Did you pick up on as a drummer? Did you
Mhm.
pick up on the drums in some of these? Like at the end of the third episode, I think the outro is this whole drum, um,
Yeah.
score. It's really wild, and I believe that if I read it correctly, that some of that music is being performed on set.
Really?
So while they're acting, yeah, I guess to just bring a sense of realism to it.
Hmm.
That set is also huge. Apparently, we saw some of the photographs of it that were leaked, kind of
Mhm.
early on, and it's like they built this whole
They
town, this whole
they
city.
have for all of these series. They did
Well,
it
no,
for
no, 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 that's not true though. This is very much a practical set. What I'm talking about, that planet of Canary.
Right.
Whereas, you talk Mandalorian, all that. That's all of the using the volume technology with,
Mhm.
that's That's much less practical than something like this.
Right.
So that was impressive. Hey, who played the bell ringer? Is it me or does this look like the guy, the bell ringer up in the tower?
Oh yeah.
Doesn't he
I don't
look
know.
like, oh my God, he looks like this character actor that I can't think of his name. You go
And
back
and
and check it. Oh,
you're
God.
talking about a guy in the morning. This
Yes.
guy comes out, this big, heavy guy, muscular guy, and he's got these big hammers, and he beats this, you know, uh, it's like a big steel kettle drum or something, and that's
Yeah.
kind of to wake up the
Right.
city.
I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Did that sit well? Did you think it was goofy? Or, it was like on the
Yeah,
border of being kind of silly, but
yeah. I was kind of like, there's a
yeah.
few minutes I didn't need.
Yeah. I didn't know if I should be laughing at it or
Yeah,
take it seriously. I don't
because
know.
he's like, getting himself pumped up, and
Yeah.
then
He's, getting all the
bang,
right.
bang.
Yeah. He was selling it for sure. The one last thing I want to say about it was you and I were talking, I don't know, a few nights ago about Galaxy's Edge and, that
Very
they're
disappointing.
teasing out now, at least here in Florida, that they're going to start introducing the
You okay? You
Mandalorian
having a
and
stroke there,
no,
Dan?
the what?
You
No,
having a stroke there?
no,
Sounds
I'm
like
just
you're
trying not to. I'm trying not to openly belch on air is what I'm doing,
okay.
and it was successful until you
Hello there.
did up
Well,
and
I'm not
pointed
the
it
only
out.
one that noticed it, I'm sure.
Well, you didn't have to put a spotlight on it, but do you want to comb
Eh,
your hair? Should we take a quick break and maybe you
yeah,
can
sure.
give that there we
There we
go,
go.
folks. Okay.
Mm.
Episode complete. Good night, folks.
No, so
So
go ahead.
Galaxy's Edge, and as I'm watching this, I just was reminded of that conversation because we were talking about what a swing and a miss
It's
Galaxy's
terrible.
Edge has
It's
been, but
terrible.
they're slowly starting to talk about introducing some of these characters. And one of the ideas I pitched to you is I said, why can't they sort of put a new skin on Galaxy's Edge every year, let's say, right, or
Mhm.
every quarter? So, for example, watching this, okay, it's now Andor
Mhm.
for the next 3, 4, 5 months, whatever. Like, how easy would that be to do?
Right.
And
Right.
fans would love that
Yeah.
going in and and this year it's Return of the Jedi. This year it's Force Awakens.
Like
It's endless what you could do. Clone
like this
Wars,
character we're just talking about. Start the day literally at 7 a.m., put a guy up in a
or just
tower,
at the top of every hour, this guy
right,
comes
and
out like a
mimic
cuckoo
it.
clock. Yeah,
And like I said from, was it Kenobi that had the twins, the Jabba the Hutt twins?
Jabba the Hunt.
I that was just a slip
Yes,
of the
it was.
the
Yeah,
I mean, why are those characters not being carried around Galaxy's Edge? We shouldn't even go there because
yeah.
this isn't about that, but we're
No, but
very
I mean,
frustrated with
it
how bad.
it's related to the Star Wars universe,
And
and
it's you're supposed to be. I mean, I haven't been to Harry Potter yet at
mhm,
Universal, and you have,
yeah,
and you said they pretty much
it's awesome.
achieve that,
It's awesome. Yeah.
where you're in there and you're like, yeah, this is. I feel like I'm, at Gryffindor or whatever.
Yeah, it's really,
So
really good.
anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I could only hope that they think about doing something like that in the future. But I really love this so far. It's only been 3 episodes. So there's a lot more to come, but I really enjoyed it. It's what I was looking for more of in Kenobi, to be honest with you, like the dark kind of grittiness
it's
that I
very
didn't
gritty.
I didn't feel from like in Kenobi when there's scenes when he goes uh Daikon or whatever the name of that planet was with all the neon. It was kind of like, in Tokyo or something.
Yeah,
And that underground and there's all the aliens and it just didn't
yeah,
give me the same feeling that the way it's presented in Andor. I think Gilroy does a much better job of that here. And
yeah,
the story, it's very well written.
yeah.
The characters are interesting and
Now Tony Gilroy directed the first
no, he
episode.
hasn't directed any yet.
Oh, I thought it's another
No.
Tony then.
Yes, I think
Tony
you're right.
something.
I think you're right. Now, the story there is that he was in New York at the
Mhm.
time, and this got like most things got halted by the pandemic for a brief period of time, And I guess he made the decision to stay where he was
Mhm.
and not travel at that point. And that's really the only reason. I think otherwise we would have seen him directing at least the first installment of it.
So I assume we'll see him
I would
somewhere
imagine.
down the road.
I have to believe we will.
I think it's a good kickoff. Like I said, if it was anything less than 3 episodes,
Yeah.
not sure I would have been as excited
Right.
for it, but I think it's off to a good start. I think it'll probably, I don't know when we'll update it, like if we'll wait till the end of this,
Yeah.
Probably
this first 12 episodes.
Yeah, and
You know.
we'll probably check in and say,
Right.
how'd it go? So
Yeah, that'll be a sufficient amount of content to look back at,
yeah.
Anything else to say about Andor
No,
at this
no,
go
I think
around? All right. It's-
we're on the same page. I think you liked it a little more than I did, but
Yeah.
I'm still wait and see kind of thing.
Well, and I was a bigger fan of Rogue One than you too, it sounds like.
Right.
So,
Right.
I suppose no surprise there. But yeah, I mean, a couple of issues like I mentioned, but all in all, it's solid. So hopefully, and we didn't talk a lot about. We can do this at the next pass, but we didn't talk a lot about the younger Cassian and that whole storyline, which I really
Mhm.
loved. And very quickly, just to say, essentially, the planet that he's actually from, is he from Fest, or they say he's from Fest, but he's really from Canary? I think they say
he's from right, or that's what he says because he's lying.
but he's really from Canary. And Canary, it's like these indigenous people
Correct.
and I think what it is it's revealed that there was a huge mining accident.
Yeah,
A
ship crashed.
No. What I took from it, if you go back and watch,
Mhm.
there's a scene where young Cassian is
Mhm.
overlooking, he's on this ridge and he's overlooking this big valley, basically.
Yeah,
It's like a quarry almost.
yeah,
And from what I got from it, there was a big mining accident. The Galactic Empire was coming in and strip mining this place.
Mhm.
And there was a big accident and it killed basically everybody that lived there. And I took away that group that we see of
Mhm.
Canarians, they are the only survivors. And kind of like this Aboriginal sort of group almost,
Mhm.
living deep
Like
out
a
in the woods.
tribe.
Yeah,
Like a tribe.
very much so.
But then there's a ship that crashes
Right.
in the distance,
Correct.
and it separates him, Andor, from the rest of them.
That's where Marva discovers him.
And he
That's
doesn't
right.
speak English, so they can't communicate.
Right.
And she says to the guy she's with, let's just grab him because he's going to die. He's by
Right.
himself.
Yeah. And one of their leaders, she gets killed in that exchange between
Yes.
some of the Empire soldiers that were.
Yeah, there's one guy they thought was dead, and he
he's
wasn't.
hanging on. Right.
Yeah.
And then she ends up getting killed as a result of that, which is very significant because you can see how that impacted him.
Mhm.
Right. And so at the very end of episode 3 of Andor, when we see him, I think he's on the ship, right? Yeah, he's on the ship. And there's a wonderful, juxtaposition between the younger Cassian and then Diego Luna's Cassian.
Right.
It's almost like shot for shot.
Right. It's not
Right?
side by side. It's
No.
shot for shot.
Right. And he's
Yeah.
flying away as a young Cassian with Marva.
Yeah.
In the current day, he's flying away with Stellan Skarsgård.
Right.
And the acting from Diego Luna, you get the sense, or at least I did, that he's feeling very similar as he did,
Mhm.
leaving that planet with Marva behind.
Right. He has friends.
When he left the Canarians behind when he first met. It was very well done that they lined that up together.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, there's the first pass to Andor, 2 thumbs up from both of us, right?
Mhm.
So but yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.